YouTube people. That sound you hear is people running for the tinfoil. We got a wild one today. Uh, the tinfoil hat brigade is going to have a field day with this story. And you know, it's hard to blame them, but let me lay out what happened and then we'll kind of chit chat about it. So this popped up on Twitter yesterday, X, whatever the hell the kids are calling it these days. Preston over on Twitter, it looks like a Pokemon guy, submitted 30 cards to PSA. This is the original tweet right here. Did not get any 10s. Was not happy about it. Posted his little thing here. Oh my God. How did I not get any 10s on this 30 card order? I'm not expecting them all to be 10s, but at least some of them I thought for sure. You know, the normal stuff. Gets PSA offers on the cards that he got back, the 9s. After accepting the offers, he goes and checks the certs. The certs show that the card was actually a PSA 10. He has some photos up here. Here is him selling the PSA 9s back to PSA via PSA offers. And then here we show that it is a PSA 10. And as you can see right here, perfect example. This cert ends in 908, 13400 8908, PSA 9, Pikachu team up. And then right here, you see the same cert, PSA 10. And even the image shows PSA 10. All the conspiracies coming true at once with him selling back a 9 and then it magically turns into a PSA 10. He tweeted about it. It got a boatload of views. This thing's only been up for about 24 hours. Not even 24 hours. Actually, dead on almost 24 hours from time of recording. 500,000 views. Almost 500,000 views on this Twitter thread. Very quickly, PSA reached out and reversed everything. And apparently, here's what happened based off of his explanation here. When he posted the original order that he was upset about the grades and how they came back, his grades were manually reviewed after his original PSA post. So essentially, they were 9s. He complained about it. PSA saw it, went in, took a second look, adjusted some of the grades up, and in the meantime, he had accepted offers on the 9s. PSA saw this. They reached out to him directly, reversed all the stuff that had happened in regards to him selling back the 9s that accidentally turned, not accidentally, but that turned into 10s, and resolved the whole thing. It seemed like it all happened pretty quick. Like I said, his initial tweet was at 5 p.m., and 3 hours later, he had heard from PSA directly, and the situation was handled. So like I said, this plays into every fear. Fear might not even be the right word. Every theory, conspiracy or otherwise, that people have had about PSA and the PSA offers program. So before we kind of dig into that side of it, let's just do a quick recap. Guy sends an order to PSA, doesn't like his grades, posts about it on social. PSA sees it, goes in, has a senior grader or somebody re-review the grades. While they're doing that, he's selling off the PSA 9s. They bump the cards up to 10. He figures it out. They call him. They reverse everything, selling wise of the 9s. End of the story. That's what happened. That is what we know happened. So, is this the biggest conspiracy ever where we have finally cracked the code and PSA has shown its true colors, and everything that everyone ever thought is coming true with the offers program. I personally don't think so. And here's why. One, you could go check this right now. Anyone can go check and look to see any PSA 9 that you sold back. Go look up the cert number. Is it still a PSA 9 or is it a PSA 10 now? Because that's what happened here. The cert number did not change. They are grading, and don't get me wrong, we're going to give PSA a little hell here in a minute. They are grading 2 million cards a month. If they were doing the conspiracy theory grade swapping all the time, we would have heard about it before now. Someone somewhere would have stumbled into this. PSA offers has been around for basically the entire year now. Like, I get it. That's not what people want to hear. But logically, if they were doing this all the time, in my opinion, someone else would have found it well before now. And like I said, if you're not sure, go back and double check the certs on all your PSA 9s. A lot of people are. He even did a third tweet to this because he was catching some flack for calling it a one-off situation. And that's basically what he says. If this happened to anyone else, you would be able to go back and look up your old certs. If one of your cards was graded a PSA 9 and all of a sudden it's in a PSA 10 holder with the same cert number, we would know that this happened again. And he says right here, that tweet has 500,000 views. A bunch of people have gone back and looked, and no one's been able to find any. Now, let's, and I get it, that's probably going to trigger some people. People are going to get pissed about that. I already read the PSA Homer comments. I am not sponsored by PSA. You have the wrong channel for that. But we have to use a little bit of logic here, folks. That if this was a mass conspiracy to buy your 9s and magically turn them into 10s, people would notice. Go double check your cert numbers. Now, if you want to have a conversation about something, the fact that it took him complaining on social about his grades to have a different grader look at them to maybe more accurately grade them, we don't really know. I don't have the cards in hand. But if this person submits the PSA all the time, which he says he does, on a 30-card Pokemon order, and Pokemon, generally speaking, it's usually pretty easy to tell. On a 30-card Pokemon order from an experienced submitter, if he was expecting 30% to come back a 10, that's not a huge ask, and he gets 0% coming back as a 10, that tells me that they were probably not graded correctly on the initial, and the second round through was probably the more accurate take. That in its own right is obviously, in my mind, that's the bigger issue here than the PSA 9, PSA 10 thing. And I get it. That's not going to be the sexy thing that people are going to want to talk about. But to me, that's the real angle here, is that the initial grades were so far off. And, you know, we speculate that this happens all the time. When you submit to any grading company, PSA or otherwise, you are paying for an opinion. That's what you're doing. They have a set of standards that they use when they look at it, and you can remove PSA, talk about any grading company here. They apply their standards, they compare it to the card, and they render an opinion based on that. It is humans involved. It is going to be all over the place. I am not surprised that someone would look at 30 cards and give them all 9s, and someone else would look at 30 cards and give 11 or 12 of them 10s, or whatever. I think it was 11 or 12 of them switched over from 9s to 10s. That does not surprise me at all. We've seen a million instances on YouTube and social of people cracking out cards, regrading them, and getting completely different grades. Wildly so in some cases. And clearly, they need to tighten up some processes on the back end with PSA offers if they are doing something along these lines of adjusting the grades. Now, I don't know how often that happens. Why did this one particular order get flagged or get noticed or whatever the case might be? I think the original tweet had a lot of traction, so that might be why. I guess we can look. Let's see here. I think this is the original one. Yeah, the original one has 750,000 views. So that's how that one got noticed. If you get 750,000 views, that's probably going to get some attention by the old social media teams, and people are going to double check, take second looks at stuff. So, lots of issues here. And I get it. We all want to run to this is the biggest conspiracy in the hobby, and maybe it is. I personally don't think so on the grade swapping thing. I just feel like if this was truly happening, where they were stealth changing cards to 10s after the fact, someone would have noticed by now. Call me gullible, call me naive, I do tend to believe that this is more I'm not saying this is a one-off, that it's the only time that it's happened, but I believe that this is more on the extremely rare case than they are flip-flopping grades around left, right, and center. And the whole multiple people looking at cards and grading them differently, that is nothing new. It happens all the time. All the time. Paying for an opinion. And we've done this to ourselves. PSA gets put on a pedestal. The hobby, the masses, the people put them there. I've talked about this for years. If you want to fix it, pay the same for a PSA 10 versus a BGS 9.5 versus an SGC 10 versus a CGC 10. Until that changes, nothing in the grading landscape is going to change. And it would take a monumental shift for PSA to get dethroned at this point. Monumental. Because no other company has the infrastructure that they have in place to even remotely challenge them. Look at Beckett. They got a little bit of an increase in orders and got buried. They had to stop doing group subs. Curious for your thoughts and comments down below. I have a feeling the comment section is going to be riled up on this one. Catch boys and girls on the next one. Peace.